everybody, welcome to the show. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Raising A to Z. It is an informational and inspirational YouTube channel all about homeschooling. My name is Amanda. I am a teacher turned homeschool mom, and recently I had a revelation. It was something that I knew, something that I thought I understood, and something that I hated doing in homeschooling. And it never made sense to me until now. And honestly, I felt like a bad homeschool parent because I despise doing this. My confession, my secret confession, despite being a very creative person, a very artistic person, someone who likes to do things and get my hands messy and lots of colors, I even like glitter, I really hate doing crafts. I hate it. I hate doing crafts with my kids, and I never understood why. And I never understood how so many homeschool parents could do crafts. And it made me feel guilty. And then something changed in the last probably like literally a month. And it's changed my whole mindset. And I get it now. And it makes so much sense. And I have to share it with you because it's literally that amazing. So before I get into that, if you like this video, which I'm hoping you do, it's mind-blowing for me, why don't you guys go down and subscribe and click the bell to get notifications so you see when we put out more videos like this. And if you're looking for a way to add a little bit more art and nature and journaling to your day, you definitely want to go to our store and check out some of our amazing products, including the Raising A to Z Nature Journal, where you will find this beautiful journal in a couple of different covers, and it helps you just keep track of all the incredible nature studies and journaling and all that kind of thing. Definitely something you might want to have if you are interested and want to get out into nature more often. So first thing I need to say, arts, crafts, and handicrafts. That's what this video is about, and they are not the same. I know a lot of people, even people who are teaching art in schools, they consider it the same thing. They are not. And I think that was where my confusion lied. So I knew from having a very extensive art background that art and crafts are two different things. I knew that. I knew I disliked crafts. I like art. Dislike crafts, like art. Let me explain the difference. So, art is usually a skill. It is an acquired skill. It has many steps. You will learn different processes and different ways of doing things, but then you are taking it and creating something totally new and unique, and it is a form of self-expression. There are a variety of art forms out there, talking about like photography, painting, drawing, clay, muraling, like all kinds of things, but generally they have a technique. There are a variety of techniques that you can learn and implement, but then you're using those different bits of knowledge that you've learned to create an original piece. And the piece you are creating is an expression of yourself and what you want to put out into the world. Crafts are not that. Crafts are primarily paper-based. If we're honest, they're going to be like paper and glue and cardboard. And that's fine. You can definitely do a lot of art with paper, glue, and cardboard. I'm not denying that. But usually there's a very specific series of steps to make a very specific series of outcomes. And so usually it's things like making a paper plate cow, or the handprint turkey that we do at Thanksgiving. That's a craft. Because basically when you're done, you look at it, you stick it on the fridge, you think it's pretty for a little while, and then you get rid of it. There is not a lot of growth that comes from it because there's not a lot of technique that comes out of it. Basically, you trace your hand, you cut it out, you stuck it on there, you're done. Every step has been pre-described, every step has told you how to do that. Now, yes, you could take that farther, but then you're getting into the art side of things. Crafts are very different because there's not really anything that happens. Basically there to look at and then there to throw out. There's nothing wrong with crafts. I need to reiterate that. There's nothing wrong with crafts. I think they're kind of fun and cute to do. A lot of people love to do them at like seasonal and holidays kind of events. You know, you do your little rainbow with the pot of gold at St. Patty's Day. Maybe you'll do like I said, the turkey at Thanksgiving. There's lots of cute little projects out there. The problem I have with them as an activity is that they're not always age appropriate. And I know they're not age appropriate because I have gone to schools and seen a classroom set of crafts, and every single cow looks exactly the same. Every single duck looks exactly the same because there was no creativity that was allowed in it. It was follow these steps to do this. The difference would be if you had done some practicing and there would be like, okay, we're going to learn how to use this technique. We're going to practice it. And then you can create your own piece. That's art. But do these 5 steps to make this, and this is the only outcome there can be. That's crafting. That's crafts. And the thing is, I don't like crafts. My girls love crafts. I enjoy doing crafts to a certain age. Like by the time I was probably like 9 or 10, I enjoyed doing crafts because I didn't know there was anything else. And that shifted into other creative venues around that age. But I enjoyed crafts. My girls like to do crafts. Luckily, Grammy, my mom, loves a good craft. When they go over to Grammy's house, they can make all the crafts they want. But as a homeschool mom, I really struggled with it because, and you know, it's hard. I'm not gonna lie. You see social media where you have moms who are doing all these beautiful crafts for their homeschooling and their unit studies, and you feel kind of guilty because you're not doing any of them because it drives you up a wall. And I think one of the reasons crafts drive me up a wall, because art doesn't. The kids can paint pictures till the cows come home, doesn't bother me. I think it's because I can see development in what they're doing. I can see composition. I can see, you know, colors and color blending. I can see form and distance, and I can teach lessons based on what they're doing. Like I can see the educational and technical benefits of art. Crafting just, it's not age appropriate because, like I said, when you see those 20 cows that all look the same, that doesn't mean that all those kids are able to do that. Especially, you see this so much in preschool. Like preschool and kindergartens, the kids come home with projects that is not, like they never would have done that themselves. Had you let them do it, they would have never come up with their cow looking like that. The cow probably would have had a head like this, a body like this. It would have had 6 legs and would have had blue spots. If you let them, that's what it would have looked like. And that is actually age appropriate creation and drawing and all of that for a child's age. Crafting is adults hovering over supervising and directing where everything should go and how it should be done. And so really it's like the helicopter parenting of the creative world. And that was one thing I had a problem with crafting, because there's no way to make those crafts look decent and be educational without hovering. And I don't like that. The other thing is there's nothing that you can do with it. Really, like I said, you stick it on your fridge for the season and then you throw it out. And that's a hard thing for me because I already struggle with having kids, particularly Alexi, who is a prolific writer and drawer. She loves to write and draw in workbooks and on every piece of paper she can get her hands on. I already have a stack of papers that I have to go through and figure out how to deal with that. And it's all things like copy work she decided to do on her own. It is poems she's written, it's notes she's taken, it's drawings that she's based off of her nature studies from outside. It's things that she's created based off of this television show or her like imagination of this scene that she would have made. Alexi writes and draws so much, which is a great thing. And I don't want to discourage that because that is true learning. That is like creation. That is what I want, right? But she writes so much and we're already at like sometimes 2 notebooks a week. I'm not even kidding. 2 like 30 to 60 page notebooks a week this kid can fill if she's on a roll. And so I already have to figure out how to handle all of that paper to bring in other paper whose sole purpose is to throw it out at the end, and there's not a lot of educational merit to it. It's hard for me. And I never got it because I saw parents on Instagram who were doing all these beautiful things with their kids, and I felt bad, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it with them. I don't enjoy it. I don't see the educational merit of it, and it stressed me out. And then something changed. A few weeks ago, I was scrolling Instagram again, and I came across a post from Ella at Schoolhouse Grace. I will put a link for her. So I was struggling because we are eclectic homeschoolers. We do a lot of unschooling. We do a lot of unit studies, but we also have quite a few influences from Charlotte Mason. And one of her key things is handicrafts. And I see people who are doing handicrafts and who are doing crafts with their kids, and they're Charlotte Mason homeschoolers, the biggest Charlotte Mason homeschoolers in the world. And they're doing crafts, and I just was like, I just can't bring myself to do it. And I felt guilty because I understand, like I said, I understand the value of art so deeply. I just can't bring myself to do crafts with my kids. And then I saw a post on Instagram that changed everything. I always understood the difference between arts and crafts. I finally understood what handicrafts meant. And it's different from art and it's different from crafts. And a lot of Charlotte Mason homeschoolers are doing crafts. And that's what I was getting so confused with. They're not doing handicrafts, they're doing crafts. And there's confusion over this. So I was scrolling Instagram. I was kind of just scrolling through, and I saw this woman. Her name was Ella. She's at Schoolhouse Grace. And she was showing these blocks that her son had made as part of his handicraft. And they were like baby blocks that he had made as a baby gift for his cousin, I think. And he had burned like shapes and designs and things into these wood blocks as a baby gift. And so she had this great caption that went with it. And I was like, oh, everything makes sense now. So I'm going to read you her caption because it changed my mind. One subject that Charlotte Mason introduced to me that I'm forever grateful for is purposeful handicrafts. I never enjoyed crafts as a mom. Sorry, please don't hate me. Because I simply did not understand the purpose of my children creating projects only to be thrown out later by me. So before meeting Miss Mason, we simply didn't do much of anything crafty at home. Does this sound familiar? But when I learned about handicrafts and how you can teach your children crafts that are beautiful and purposeful, I was hooked. Purposeful. That was the piece that I was missing. That is the difference between crafts and handicrafts. So that's what I never got. And I realized I love handicrafts. I have always loved handicrafts. I have loved handicrafts since I was old enough to do them. In fact, a lot of the crafting I did was actually kind of like precursors to handicrafts. It was me trying to make things that I could give to people as gifts, that I could, that served a purpose in my home, that I could hang up, that I could like feed the birds with. Like a lot of the crafting I did even as a kid were technically handicrafts because it had a purpose. There was a reason why we were making it, and it wasn't just to hang it on the wall and then throw it out later. That's not purposeful. And so now that I've gotten it, it has opened my mind. And in the last month, we have like taken this and run with it so much that it's just fantastic because I get it now. And I'm excited to include more handicrafts into our homeschooling. Art, you learn a technique and you get creative with it and you express yourself. Crafts, you follow steps to make a final outcome. Handicrafts fall somewhere in the middle. You are learning techniques and being creative, but there's a purpose and a reason behind it. It's actually more closely related to art than to crafts. But the difference being it is not just something that you're doing to express yourself. There's also like a physical purpose behind you doing it. I've always done handicrafts. I have done, since I was probably 12, I have done sewing, knitting, soap making, candle making, scrapbooking, cake decorating, baking. Currently, my latest new obsession has been cross stitching. Since January, I picked up cross stitching as something fun to do. Loving it. Like I love having a little something I can work on, something I can like put a little bit of effort in, and then like have a really cool thing at the end that I can either use or that's going to have a purpose in my life, or that I can give as a gift for somebody. Like, I've always loved it. Always loved it. And that's the difference. There's a purpose behind it. I think even Charlotte Mason homeschoolers, people who are hardcore Charlotte Mason homeschoolers, miss that component. They're doing a lot of crafts, not a lot of handicrafts, or their handicrafts are very few and far between. And so that's what we've been doing lately. We've been trying to implement a lot more handicrafts, and it's been going really well. So the kids have started cross stitching. We found some great little, what got me into it was these little dollar store kits from Dollarama. It came with the backing, all the thread you needed, the pattern, the needle, and the hoop, and it was like $1.50. So I got a couple just for something to do over the winter, fell in love with it, and now my kids want to do it. And so we've been like I've been showing them how to do that, and sitting down, especially on Fridays, and taking a little time to do a couple stitches, a couple practices, and working on like a small pattern or like a little tiny hoop, because they're young and it's not easy. And so sometimes Alexi would sit down and do 6 or 7 stitches. We call it a day. Sometimes she would sit down and do like 12, 14, 18 stitches and make a small shape. It's not about doing it quickly. It's not about finishing the project. It's actually about doing it slowly and understanding the intricacies of it and doing it well. That's a key component of Charlotte Mason and of Handicrafts, is doing it slowly and doing it well and learning how to do it properly. And so it's actually nice to have a project slightly more difficult for them, to actually like slow them down and be able to do it very well and learn the technique really well. And so that has been really exciting for us. But you're sitting here going, Amanda, I'm not a cross stitcher. It's not my thing. What are some other ideas for handicrafts? Lots of ideas for handicrafts. Like I said, you can do sewing, whether it is hand sewing or with a machine. Awesome. You can do knitting or crocheting. There are tons of different patterns out there. They're really inexpensive. A friend of mine, we were at Michael's the other day, she picked up a pattern on how to make little stuffed animal bird. It was a stuffed animal bird. They had different animals, but her like beginner one was this little bird. She said it took her about 4 hours as an adult, but it was less than $10 to get started. And that was crochet. She did it all like with crochet. It came with everything she needed. It was a great kind of starter to try it out and see if she liked it. There are so many places you can get really inexpensive yarn or crochet hooks or knitting needles. It's a very inexpensive way to start. We got cross stitch, but then you can also get into things like leather work or woodworking, building birdhouses, whittling. Like those are really cool projects, especially if you have kids who are not interested in kind of more feminine things, like that we would typically consider feminine. Woodworking is a great one. Leatherworking is a great one. You can do candle making or soap making. Wood burning, like Ella's son was doing. We have fairy houses. Fairy houses are very popular. It's like an outdoor decor thing. We're probably going to do that this summer. Try our hand at doing a couple fairy houses, or like the little fairy doors that you stick on your trees, because we have a couple trees and areas. I think my kids really enjoyed that. Miniature worlds, handicraft, felting, handicraft, engine repair can be considered handicraft if you're doing small engines, car maintenance, repairing small appliances. Like that is a skill that has like a function to it, a purpose to it. It doesn't just have to be like girly little creation projects. There's like, it's just about learning to do a skill and do it well and do it slowly and understand the intricacies of it that has a purpose in your life going forward, and that you can use for yourself, you can use for someone else. Gardening, whether it is flower gardening, whether it is indoor plants, whether it is vegetable gardening, fantastic. Orchard keeping, beekeeping, I know those are a little bit more adult, but those are also handicrafts. You could also get into quilting, robotics. There's all kinds of different ways to make jewelry. Really, the list is endless. If you're looking for lists, I'll put a link below. This is kind of the longest list I've seen, but is by no means the most comprehensive list. Anything can become a handicraft if it is taught slowly, if it is given purpose, and if it is something that can be expanded on to be used in their life. So now that we get what handicrafts are, we've been doing it more in our home. And it's kind of been such a revolutionary thing, because I understood some of the stuff I enjoy doing with my kids was already handicrafts and I didn't know. Like baking. Every Friday we bake with their kids before we do tea time. And I've always loved that. but I never understood that as a handicraft, and now I get it. And that's one of the reasons why I love doing it with my kids, was because it was a handicraft and I just didn't know it. Does that make sense? And so now we're not just like following recipes, now we're starting to kind of play around with recipes and kind of like make our own twist on things. So for example, actually Zoe is the best at making recipes. She's 4 years old. She first off is the best at finding recipes. She goes on a Pinterest, she types in what she wants, and she just like, boom, just like that one. And we make it, and it always turns out amazing. I don't know how she does it, but she does. She's also the best at like mixing things up and like making things into like her own recipe. She came up with this recipe where she changed out half the chocolate chips in her chocolate chip cookie recipe from semi-sweet to white chocolate, and we call them black and white cookies. It's incredible. It's like so good. She's making her own recipes at 4 years old. We've done like all kinds of different things. We've like played around with recipes. It's a simple, purposeful skill that we have learned. We feel comfortable with it now, and now we're starting to like create our own with them. It's a lot of fun. But if you're looking for something else, I definitely suggest checking out your like, A, check out that list that I'm going to put below, and B, check your local dollar store. Like I said, I found a lot of kits there that I've used with my kids. Some of these like this is one of the first ones I did. This whole kit came from Dollarama. It came with the hoop, it came with all the backing, the thread, the needles. This kit was $1.50. $1.50 for the whole thing. Everything, the pattern, everything. It had everything that you needed in it to do the project. I've gotten sewing kits for the kids there. I've gotten watercolors. That's actually a great handicraft as well. It's like kind of an art / watercolor activity. Nature journaling is another great idea, but you can get a lot of things at the dollar store. When it comes time to do our fairy houses, we're going to go to the dollar store because it's probably one of the cheapest places to get some of these supplies to start, and just to see if it's something we want to do continuously, or if it's just something we're going to do for a couple of weeks and then we're like going to get tired of it. It's a great way to start, and then you can kind of build from there and add skills as you go. And yeah, YouTube is your friend. Use it as a search engine. Look for, like, when I started cross stitching, I literally was Googling things like into the YouTube bar, like beginners cross stitch. That's how I started cross stitching, and we've had so much fun with it in the last like 4 months, learning how to do it and like working with the kids. This has been revolutionary for me. I hope it has been as revolutionary for you as it has been for me. I hope you understand the difference between arts, crafts, and handicrafts now, and I hope this inspires you to try some handicrafts with your kids, because I think it is just so much fun, and it incorporates so many great skills and great learning and learning how to learn, that it's just simple, fun, purposeful activity to do with your family. That is just amazing. Thank you so much for watching. Why don't you guys make sure that you subscribe and click the bell to get notifications. And then if you want to see what kind of handicrafts and art projects we're doing in our home, make sure you're following us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Thanks. Bye.